Hello, my mate Vince here, and welcome to April's Fixing Extravaganza, where I get loads of different items and put them into the one video, a very long video. But remember, you can always skip if you do not like the item and go on to the next one. I'm sure there's going to be a couple of things in here that you will definitely enjoy. So, if you haven't seen my videos before, I am not a professional in these repairs. I'm going to be very similar to yourself if you like to attempt to fix stuff. If you're a DIY sort of person, a bit of a tinkerer, then you're going to be similar to myself. So you might see plenty of mistakes, but what I will promise you is it is all real. So if I burn my eyebrows, you will see me burn my eyebrows. If I put a soldering iron through my hand, you will see that. So let's get straight on and let's see, out of all the items, if we can get any fixes. I hope you enjoy. So to start off, we have this LG CD DVD player thing. And it's my own one. I've had it for years. And basically what's happening is it just doesn't want to stay down. There's a little manual eject here, and I've done various different videos on it, and I think basically over time it must have either weakened this bit here because I've maybe used it too much, or it looks like if I pinch it here then it's happy to stay down, but then when I let go here it pops out. So I can't load anything into it because it's constantly ejecting. So I thought I'd quickly film it. Now, I'm not sure if it's clipped, but there's these little feet here. I'm hoping there might be some screws. This has never been a part before. I'm wondering if there's going to be screws underneath here. No, there's not. So there's no screws there. Okay, so it must be just clipped together. Here we go. It looks like there's something at the back here, doesn't there? Just here. Here we go. Let me check all of them, because maybe there's something under the back ones. Yes, there is. Luckily I didn't force that. I suppose maybe there's not enough room to have them under the front ones. So it turns out there's actually 3 screws under 3 of the feet. It's just the very first one that I did, there was no screw under that one there, because that's where the main kind of mechanism moves in and out. I had a 75% chance of finding a screw, and yet I didn't find one. And that's why I'm no good at gambling. Anyway, let's take a look at the inside of this and see if we can work out what's causing this clip and not to clip in. So, is this too far in? Does it need to come out more? Can it come out more? See, that there looks perfect to me. It's whatever that is going into which is not clipping in properly. And I can't see because it gets buried behind here. Now, how do I actually take this out of here? In fact, I should be able to see it here, should I not? Right, when I hold it there, it stays. So it's something to do with this thing here. It hasn't really had enough use for it to have gone faulty. So it's not about keeping it across here, it's about keeping it down. When it's down, it stays. So does that have to go under the slip? Is that the problem? It's not going under that lip properly? Maybe it needs to go under rather than out. Is that possible? Don't think so. I think we need to take this out somehow. Uh-oh. Just snap that bit. Is that going to make a difference? No, it shouldn't make any difference. How do I take this out? Should just be a case of pushing in there and coming out. There we go. And the same with this one. There we go. Got another one here. And here. Now I wonder, has this broken here? Is that the problem? That thing there, has that worn down? Should that push something up? That looks pretty worn, does it not? Kind of looks melted. For me, at this point in the video, I haven't got a clue what's going on. I've got no idea how this mechanism works, but I feel that if I was like a child or a teenager looking at this years ago, I would have worked that out quite easily. So I don't know what it is, whether I'm just not using my brain properly or I'm trying to overthink things, but it's really obvious how this works, and yet it doesn't come to me in this part of the video. Some of you have already worked it out, but the others who are still struggling like me, just think about it logically a minute. We know that that little metal thing needs to move in and out. And if you think about the way the metal thing's shaped, it will then become obvious how this works. But that doesn't come to me for a while. So I'm thinking what happens when you have power connected and you press this button. It moves this to the end here. And in doing that, it must move a little lever which must push this in, which then releases it. So the only thing that I can see is worn is this thing here, but of course I don't know what it should look like originally. So I'm just going to get the soldering iron. I'm just going to try to push it over to see if that makes any difference, you know, like melt it over a little bit. No, so that hasn't made any difference. See, what I need to do is I need to kind of get this whole thing over. I don't know how I'm going to manage that, unless I was to, let me try melting through here and pushing this over. Right, I just want to see if that's going to make any difference. No, this is going to end in tears. How am I going to get that over? Unless I was to wedge something in there. Do you know what? It's not working at all now. You can all stop shouting at the screen. I will work it out in a minute. Problem is I can't wedge it in here, you see, because it needs to be able to slide. I'm not going to be able to fix this thing. Well, the fact it's not doing it at all now says to me that it's all about this thing. Oh, of course. Oh, Vince, use your brain. This knobbly bit down here, yeah, this knobbly bit is sticking up like a screw. And what happens is it catches in that bit there. It actually goes in here, yeah? And now it can't go there. So what I'm gonna have to do is I'm gonna have to melt in. Let me try to put it up into a point. I think I'm gonna have to melt in something. I need to get a little bit of metal, I think, to stick out. Let me see if I've got a little screw. Right, I found that little screw there. So if I was to screw in from under there, that might do the trick. So let me make a tiny little hole right the way through it, so I know where it needs to be. I think it needs to be here. There. Let me just see if this is going to work. It's so obvious now, I just didn't think of that. Am I through? So I'm not through yet. So basically I have to screw the screw in so that the point of it, the tip of it, replaces that little plastic bit that was there before. So clearly the plastic bit has snapped or it's bent over and it's not doing the job it needs to do. It's so obvious now. That metal thing that moves in and out, that finger type metal thing, is a hook, isn't it? And it needs to hook around the plastic thing, or now the plastic thing's not there, it's going to hook around the tip of the screw. Now I can't put the screw in too much because it's going to foul against the mechanism and you won't be able to pull it out. And I can't put it in too little because the hook won't be able to grip on it, so I need to get it just right. So there's a bit of a fine tweaking process going on here where it has to be just in enough, and also it has to be in the right spot. It does take me a couple of attempts to get it. In fact, the original hole that I've just done is wrong, so I have to kind of melt it all again to get rid of the hole, and then drill another, not drill, but screw through another hole again. Then I'm going to get the Having Fun Repairs Dremel tool, which is now back from the Rolls-Royce, hurrah, and I'm going to cut through it. Otherwise there's going to be the head off a screw sticking out, marking everything up. Now I do kind of like grind it a little bit as I'm cutting it to make it smoothish, but what I'm doing is I'm just going to get a little bit of hot glue just to put over it, and that way then it's not going to damage any surfaces, and it's not going to cut my finger or anybody else's finger if they go to use this. So let me now show you as the glue's put on, and it is now in the correct place. Now if I had half a brain, what I should have done is peel back the sticker, and then it would have hidden all my sins. So basically it might have been a little bit proud where I ground back the screw and put a bit of glue on, but it would have looked a lot nicer than seeing a big lump of black hot glue on there covered by a kind of sticker which has a scorched hole on. But still, I didn't, so I can't do anything about that now. But maybe I should have just stood back, thought for a few seconds, and then you see the job would have looked a lot better, wouldn't it? Especially when I'm filming myself and all these people are watching, I wouldn't look like such an idiot. But still, such is life. If you're doing a job like this, at least you now know to peel back the sticker, because I haven't, so you've learnt from my mistakes. Hence the reason it's very important to show mistakes even though you can look like a fool. Okay, let's get this back together. Right, okay, plug it in. And let's see what's happening. Excellent. Ah, yes, and I don't have to do that overly hard. To be fair, that works just perfectly. Easy when you know how, so it was just that little plastic bit got damaged. It always worked. The reason it keeps turning off is because it's just a power bank. Yeah, it always worked fine, it's just the fact that it didn't stay in. Brilliant. It lives again. I like that one. And another thing I like is, ta-da, PCB Way, the sponsors of today's video. PCBWay is your one-stop solution for all things PCB fabrication and assembly. From rapid prototyping to full-scale production, PCBWay delivers top-quality products. So whether you're a seasoned engineer or a hobbyist just starting out, PCBWay's user-friendly interface makes ordering your own custom PCBs very easy. And PCBWay do a variety of different services, including but not limited to assembling your PCBs, CNC machining, 3D printing, sheet metal fabrication, and injection moulding. So when you're ready to take your designs to the next level, look no further than PCBWay and bring your ideas to life. So a massive thank you to PCBWay for sponsoring the My Mate Vince channel. Next up now, we're going to be looking at a fault on my daughter's car. Even saying that sounds weird to me because I do not know where the last 17 years have gone. They've gone like that. I hope the next 17 years slow down a little bit. So when I was driving this last night, I noticed that these two were lit up and these two weren't. This is the 2013 Fiat 500. So I've got a couple of pry tools to pry it out. I'm going to wear some gloves because when I put in the new bulbs, it's best not to get oils from my fingers on there. And I've got two different sorts of bulbs. Although one's gone out, I'm going to replace them on both sides because if that one's gone, it might not be long before this one's gone as well. I'm going to pop the Lucas ones in, but you can buy other brands as well. They're a T5 bulb, also known as a 286. Let me just zoom in and show you the item numbers on these. The green one is the Lucas ones that I'm going to be using, but the other ones will work as well. They're 12 volt 1.2 watts. I believe the ones in here are 12 volt 1.3 watts, but these are the ones that's currently available in all the motor factors near me, so it's going to be fine. So what we're going to do is we're going to put all these to the very left or the very right, whatever your preference is. Just make sure that they're all one way or the other, and that way then you'll remember when you put it back that they all need to be in that position. And we're going to use a couple of pry tools and we're going to pry out from here and here, and hopefully it will unclip. So I'm just going in between the plastic dash here and here. I'm just getting my fingers under to put a bit of pressure on as well. There we go, that's that side out. There we go. Right, so I'm going to put some gloves on and let's make sure it is actually a bulb failure and not something else. So take this out here. Right, we've got like a paper gasket down here, so make sure you don't lose that. In fact, I wonder would that be better on here. I might put the paper gasket actually on here. Right, this is the bulb that's failed. So we have a bulb here and a bulb here. So I'm just going to get my multimeter and just see if we got continuity. So I'm setting it to continuity mode. When the leads hit together, it will make a beep. So let me go on this bulb here. No, and there's nothing there. Brilliant, so hopefully it is just a bulb problem. Let me take out this one here. This is working, but I'm going to replace it just because it's going to be getting old. There we go, I can hear that one working, but I'm going to replace it anyway. Because they're only just under £2 for these Lucas ones. The other brand, the blue ones, they're only just over £1. Okay, so this is one of the bulbs here. Just make sure we have continuity on this before we install it all back in. Yeah, so we've got continuity there. Let's place that in there. It's in there. And this one's working as well. Goes in there like so and just push it down. Now, the clever thing to do would be to put the key in the ignition and actually see if these are lighting up before we put the cover back on. Okay, lights on. There we go. I can see they're both lit up now. Fantastic. Right, let's take the key out of the ignition. And we need to line this up and gently push it in. Gently but firmly. So I'm just getting the paper gasket back on. Lining it up. Making sure these are all to the left. Let's give it a wiggle. That looks nice. Here we go. Confirmation click. Nice. Right, let's see if that feels like it's working. Yes. Yes to 4. There to there, that's working. And all the way around to there. Brilliant. Okay, key in the ignition. Let's see if they're lighting up. Right, I can see they're lighting up that side there now. I know you're not going to be able to see very well. And I can see that they're lighting up that side there as well. Excellent news. So there we go. That really is a 5-minute job. And it doesn't look like I've caused any damage around the place, which is good. We're going to be looking at 2 phones, both completely different, even though they're phones. This is a customer's phone, this is an engineer's phone. The difference is simple. This will do features that you wouldn't need on here. For example, if you were on top of a pole, you might have to, telegraph pole, you might have to listen onto a line for a noisy line. The customer might be using the line at that time and you're listening on for crackles. If you were doing it with this one here, then it's going to disturb the customer, or the customer would know you're listening into their line because they're going to hear it through the microphone. While with this one, you can just set it to monitor and you can listen without anybody being aware that you're listening on. Also, it will do things like polarity and stuff like that. So we used to call this, I've never used this one, I used one that came after this, a yellow one when I was at BT, and we used to call it an engineer's butt. It did have a proper technical name, but the problem with BT at the time is everything had a weird technical name, and rather than learning everything like a 301C and a blah blah blah, you would just call it nicknames, and that's what everybody knew them as. So I bought them both 40 on eBay. This one here, the headset speaker doesn't work, so you can't actually listen to anything. When I ring in from my phone, it rings, I can answer, but I can't hear anything. When you pick up the handset, you can definitely see this display's working. So when I type here, you can see that it's coming up here. This is from the 1990s. Is there any value to either of them? Well, for me, yes, because I'm hoping it might be an entertaining video, but not really. If you wanted an engineer's butt, you're gonna sounds so. Kip Hakes, that's one for you. Did you know Kip Hakes has an Instagram page about things that I say without meaning to? I think he calls it My Mate Vince Out of Context. But yeah, maybe he can put a link to it or something like that. Or I'll try to find it and put a link to it. But yeah, there's some pretty funny things. So that's a perfect Kip Hakes one without meaning to I didn't mean that. So if you wanted one of these, then you see you would just get a newer one. You wouldn't go for something so old. I mean, this does have charm. Look at this bit here. It all looks like it, and it feels like it's cork. Incredibly well-made devices. Can see a little bit of water damage to it, but they should be waterproof because they're designed to be used outside. But things like this is completely dead. And also the monitor button here isn't right. I've got to get my thumb right up there. That should be lower down. So I'm not quite sure what's happening there. The value here would be more if somebody wanted something from the 1990s, maybe for their man cave or a TV set or something like that. This would clean up absolutely lovely. Good thing about BT phones is they are, in my opinion, good quality. There's nice weight to them. They were built to last, obviously built to a certain price, but they weren't cheap. So you can tell now that once that's cleaned up, that will still look perfect all these years later. I bought them from a guy I actually used to know. I don't know if he recognised my name when I did buy it. I didn't contact him. These were just the normal prices. I paid £10.95 for both of them, and that was delivered. So yeah, let's get started. I think I'm going to start on this one here, and then let's try and work out why the headset's not working, and then we can open up this one here. But I'm hoping, fingers crossed, it could be interesting. Well, I'm not going to worry about the bass just yet, but it is possible the bass is faulty because remember, it travels up from here. So that is a possibility. It looks nice and clean. 4 pins in there, I think look okay. Obviously I'm unplugged from the telephone line now. Now, first things first, we should test the lead, because with all the flexing over the years it may have gone faulty. Saying that, it does look fine, but I think it's going to be an easy thing to test for continuity between the pins. So I'm just going to try to release this tab if I can. There we go. Yes, it does. Next one. Right, as suspected, the lead itself is okay, because you know what, they're pretty durable. Right, let's see this. How do we take this apart? Is it just clipped together? This is where you can write people's numbers. Ah, here we go, we've got a screw. Good. Right, and I think it's still clipped. It looks like it's been prized here before, so maybe a repair, maybe it's been looked at. Oh, here we go, it's clipped. See those clips there? Right, so that is easy enough to take out. So much weight to it, look at that, they've added lead. It feels like it's balanced. So can you see my hand's in the middle? And look how, do you see what I mean? Now it's that way, now it's that way. So it's just perfectly balanced. And if something's designed now, I just don't know if they put as much time into it. I don't know if the person designing this would think, yes, let's make it balanced. So although it might not look amazing, it just feels right in the hand. Now, speaker up here. So what we'll have to do is, yeah, and the speaker goes straight down to here. So there's still a chance that the speaker's okay. It could be the phone side of things, which would make it more interesting. Let's go on to ohms. I don't know what this speaker, what ohms it should be, but it should be something, shouldn't it? So let's go across here and see if we're getting a reading. No, oh, that's annoying. Oh no, I think it's just the speaker then. That's a shame. Now, back in the day, they would have had spares. I'm not going to be able to find a spare now. Also, look at that. That's a weight in there as well, isn't it? Okay. Well, let's unsolder the wires. So now we have to get to the inside of the speaker. In this instance here, it's all encased in plastic, maybe to keep dust out or just because it's well made. Annoyingly, the plastic's glued, it's not clipped or anything like that. So I'm having to use the hot air station to heat up the plastic, essentially melt it, and that will allow me to pry it open. Hallelujah! Look at that! I actually managed to get into it. Yes, I had to melt the plastic there, but the rest came out okay. Now, I'm not too sure what's... two tiny wires. Two tiny wires there and there. I mean, I hope these are working like every other speaker I've worked with, and we should have a reading. So there's nothing there. I bet you when we look close, the wires have failed on the way down to here. See the little wire here and a little wire here. Now let's go down. This one is definitely going to here, isn't it? But is this one? Is this one going to here? It's so hard to see. Oh, annoyingly, I think it is. Oh no, it's broken there. Now, was that me just now, or has it broken there? So I add a little bit of flux and I try to solder it. I think it was broken there, but it's very hard to gauge because the wire is so thin. Annoyingly, one little tap with the soldering iron and it melts all the plastic, and then I have to dig it out. It's very hard on a digital microscope to gauge depth because it's just purely 2D, so it's hard to gauge exactly where your hands are. As well as that, you need to remember these wires are super thin. The wire you're going to see in a minute that I attempt to solder onto it is 0.1 millimeters. That's 1/10 of a millimeter. This wire here that I'm dealing with, the existing one, must be 1/100th of a millimeter. It's absolutely tiny. So you'll see a little bit later when I try to solder it, it just keeps eating away at it. I thought this here had soldered it, but it hadn't. So yeah, you see there, I mean, I would have thought that there would have done it, but no, when I go to test with my meter, there's nothing. So then I have to basically take that wire off and then start again. Every time you do this, more and more plastic's melting all the time. So you see now that I'm just getting rid of that. And then we get another wire on. It looks a mess. I've tinned the wire. It's just because we're so zoomed in. You need to remember that. You're never going to get that enameled wire looking perfect. So I'm pinning it back, and now you can see I've got it free, which is good. Hopefully I'm not going to damage the cone too much because I think it's beyond this. I think this plastic thing might be just more for dust. But if you have a look there now, fully exposed now. Now watch it burn back. Can you see that? That's how hard it is to solder onto, because look, it burns back. That's just a black mess. there, but I think I can see a little bit of solder on there. So I tap the wire onto there. Yes, the tinned wire looks a mess, but there we go, it's on. And that does look like it's soldered. Anyway, look at the meter. Good news. We now have 123 ohms. Fantastic. So we now have continuity. We have fixed it basically. We have continuity between it. So I add some nail varnish to it to try to give it a little bit of strength, because remember, it will be flexing here. Annoyingly, after I add all the nail varnish and let it dry, guess what? It doesn't work again. So I then have to take it off, and then I solder it up again, and it still doesn't work. About 20 minutes later, I work out that the other side's gone in the same spot, even though to my knowledge, I didn't even touch the other side, and it was working fine when I started. So then I have to make a repair to the other side as well. Anyway, after all that, it is now testing okay. So I just need to give it a bit of a clean up, and I put a bit of Captain tape over the actual damaged part, and then I need to melt the speaker back together again, you know, the plastic on the speaker. Long story short is that it took about 40 minutes to do all this. I know you should just replace the speaker. I think you're going to struggle to get one of these all these years later. And you might as well just get another working phone off eBay. Remember, this is just for a video. Right, so I've just put a little bit of Captain tape on there, put the bad plastic up top. And now, for the first time, when I go across here now, we have continuity, which is good. With a reading that looks right. You know, if it was something like 1 ohm, you might think that was just shorted across, straight across the terminals there. I mean, it does seem very high, but maybe that is completely normal. Let's try to melt this back down. I'm just rolling it round into place. Right, there we go. Right, let's get it back together. So it's such a relief to see an ohm reading when it's fully back together, because now, unless the vibrations of using it's going to break a wire, which is entirely possible because those wires I don't think are on very well, at least now I'm not going to damage it by whacking it around the place because it's encased in plastic again. I found that incredibly tedious, if I'm honest with you, because every time I tapped the soldering iron against the wire, it got shorter and shorter. So you're starting off with a break which is less than a millimetre, and by the end of it, you're near enough having to do a centimetre's worth of repair. As well as that, because it's like with a stereo microscope, you're looking through like your left lens and your right lens, so you get a bit of a 3D feeling when you're looking through it. With these digital microscopes, you haven't really got a clue about the depth of it. And when you're talking about like a 1 millimetre, it's very easy for that soldering iron to go down a millimetre, one tiny little shake, and that's it. You've melted all the plastic around the wire, so then you need to dig it out again. So yeah, a little bit annoying, if I'm honest with you. And as well as that, you know it's probably not going to be a lasting repair anyway. Anyway, look, phone's back together. I've given it a nice clean with a wet wipe. It has come up absolutely immaculate. It really does look near enough factory new. So let's test it to see now if we do have dial tone. Okay, great news. It actually sounds nice and clear. There's no crackle or anything. So check out dial tone now. Just put it up to the phone and you can hear that. And if I dial numbers, you can also hear. So I'm just going to put the camera this way a minute. Listen to this. And now my mobile's going to start ringing. I won't show you the phone because it's got my mobile. There we go. And hopefully you can hear my mobile ringing. That's it. So I'm just going to hang that up there now. So yeah, there we go. It's working. It's working fine, and miraculously, it's nice and clear. How long that speaker is going to last? Well, realistically, this phone is never going to really be put back into use, is it? But you never know. It could be a lasting repair, but the only proper repair there would be to replace the speaker. But it was still fun to see where it went, and it went purely from vibrations from where the wire just got fatigued because it's glued at the bottom, and then it's allowed to move with the cone off the speaker. So I suppose through the many hours of talking on it, it just eventually failed. So I'm sure if you were into phones, you'd be able to pick up one of those speakers very, very cheaply. But in this instance here, I wouldn't know where to get it, and it's not worth the price of the item to change that speaker over, but it is still nice to fix it. Right, let's move on to this one now and see if we can have just as much luck on that one. Right, engineer's butt time, and it says here Teddy 283. First of all, I want to check the lead, so I'm going to be going on pins 2 and 5 in this instance here, because 1 and 6 are empty. It's just the outer 2 gold contacts. They're the ones that's going to provide dial tone into here, because every single socket here in the UK will be doing dial tone on 2 and 5. But again, if you look at the quality of that there, it's built to last. In fact, the one that I had, that was made out of plastic, so I presume in the day these would have cost more than the yellow version. Don't know what era this one's from, but there was at a time where BT just earned so much money. But of course, as time went on, people got contracts and stuff with their mobile phones, so before you were charged per minute, nobody knew any better. Ah, interesting. Can you see there that wire's been trapped? But I don't think it's quite gone all the way through. Right, okay. Let's let me take a picture here. They're soldered on there, so but we've got enough slack. But this is a bit tight, so let me take a picture here, and then we can undo these two. I'm just going to take a picture around the place in case any wires break on me. Already, it just looks like a quality piece of equipment. What's this? A mid-com? What is that? And look, look at this. It's all covered in oh yeah. No, rubber. It's all covered in a liquid rubber. That's all soft. Like silicone. What's that say? Chicago. Whoa. Been made in Chicago. I don't think I've ever seen anything made in Chicago on a board. Can't see what else it says there. Let's zoom out a bit. Oh, and it's got a little sticker on here as well. What's this called? 283, yeah, T283 and 1452. So I suppose they're kind of expensive enough that each of them can be numbered so that they can trace things. Now, this is what we want to worry about first of all. So, white, red, and interesting. Can you see that they're mixed up there? It says, look, it might not make a difference if they're on the outer two. But can you see it says white here, red here, and green here, yet the white and the green have been swapped. But let's just see, because I don't know what is supposed to be. If these are 2 and 5, it's not really going to make a difference, but maybe it could make a difference when it comes to the ringing on extensions without a capacitor. Anyway, I'm on continuity, so my meter will beep. And I'm going between here. So from memory, this is pin 2 on this side, and it comes up here. Right, okay. Pin 3 should be here. Nah, so that's... Oh no, sorry, that doesn't mean anything. Wait, sorry, I'm getting confused. That should be white, so that should be... I think this is why it's not working. This has been put on wrong. One second, let's go to pin 5 here. Right, so pin 5's not coming up anywhere. So that's why it's not working. So that means we've got a break in a wire, because we've got... Forget where it is on the board, but we've got that there. We got that there. Haven't got that one, which we wouldn't have. But that should be number 5. Right, okay, well, although it is corroded here, that's not the reason it's not working. So I think we have a lead problem. Now, normally, you would just swap these leads out. Don't think I've got any. I haven't really got much telecom stuff now. Because luckily for me, my eBay did okay. Well, it died eventually, but and then my YouTube has done well and is still doing pretty well. Not as it's not growing anymore. I'm just hanging on for dear life, but I've been hanging on for dear life longer than I thought I would be, so I'm happy. Okay, so here, and nothing here. Where is that break? I wonder, could it be, to save me getting my crimper out, let me just put pressure down on this one here, because these have little teeth on the bottom, and they get themselves forced into the wire inside, you know, the copper cores. So I'm just forcing down on that now, just in case it's come loose. No, right, interesting. So let's go across the wire and see if we can see any breaks. It's put in here, so it's not broken just here, because otherwise it would pull straight out. Ah, hold on a minute. No, it's labelled up as red here. I just want to double check it's definitely not come up on the blue in case somebody's been working on this. No, that would be number 4 here, yeah. So blue is number 4, which is not going to be used. On a socket itself, it might be used sometimes for, you know, phone systems. But no, okay. So it's definitely that one there. Right, let's have a little looky, see if we can see any obvious signs of damage. Well, I can't see anything wrong with it at all, so really I have no option but to cut the plug off and then see if we're, you know, see if, well, I'm going to have to get a new plug on. The problem is, again, I don't know if I have all this equipment. I used to have everything. Let's just cut it here. And first of all, let's just prove to see if the fault was going into here. Right, okay, so basically if you have a listen here, it's not coming up here. So I just want to see it, make sure it's not some weird enamel stuff. No, it works there. So the fault is with the plug itself. That's kind of strange. Let's give this a pull. There you go. So now we can find out exactly where it went. And it went, so that was about here. It went just here. Yeah. Weird place for it to go there. I'm wondering, that's a strange place for it to go there, you know. Oh well, it's gone. So I'm going to have to try to find out where, if I've got any of these plugs. And you know what, I didn't make notice of the way it went round. So let's see if we can work that out. So if it's like that, we now know that the blue wire is going to be on that side there. No, that's going to be wrong. It can't be the blue wire there, can it? Oh, the red wire must be on the outside there. Yeah, it's going to be white, green and red, isn't it? Well, I say that, but that catches me out later because I shouldn't just assume I should have belled it out. I should have tapped it out using my continuity tester to find out what was on pin 1, what was on pin 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, or in this instance here, 2, 5 and 3, and then I would have known. Now, all I have to do is put a new plug on the end. Annoyingly, I've got rid of all my plugs years ago now, so I could buy some off eBay and use the crimper tool that you can just see in shots here, but I want to get this working today, so I'm just making my own lead and I'm cutting the ends off the other lead that go on the screw terminals, and I'm just going to solder them onto this modem lead here. I am actually putting the strain relief thing back on it and packing it with some glue because this lead is slightly thinner, but it's kind of pointless because this is the incorrect lead for this engineer's phone. Even the lead I got with it is the incorrect lead. That's why the strain relief boot was just thrown on the inside. So really, this engineer's phone has no use to anybody. Somebody who's working in the field would want a newer one that can also detect digital lines, and also somebody who collects these won't want this one because it hasn't got the original lead. I have looked online and I can't see where you can buy spares for these. So really, I'm only doing this purely for the video. It doesn't really make a difference if it works or not. Anyway, I'm just going to screw it back in. I do have to play around with the wires for a bit because it doesn't work. So what I have to do is get a bit of paper and I have to write down what's what. Then it becomes clear. I test the old plug that I took off for the color codes because I know then the color code of that lead, and then I do the color code of my lead, and then I can work out what goes where. Annoyingly though, it's not ringing, and that's what I want to talk about in this bit here. Also, I fixed up the wire going up to the speaker. Well, I tried swapping around the 2 and the 5 with the 5 and the 2 to see if that would make a difference. Pin 3 is definitely pin 3 on here. If you try to put the 2 main ones through it, then the telephone doesn't work. Do you know what I think? I don't think there's a fault with the ringer. I don't think it's supposed to. When you ring, you can see these lights indicated here. And I was thinking, okay, well, where's the separate speaker? Because it's not going to be through here because you wouldn't hear it. You only hear this when you put your ear up to it. And I thought, I'm sure I remember the one that I had a little speaker on it. So I had a look on eBay, and sure enough, this is like a more modern one. And can you see there's a speaker here purely for the ringer? That isn't where you speak through. That's on the other side of it here. That's for like the ringer, and also I presume that would be for the hands-free, you know, if you wanted it on loudspeaker. And if you have a look here, this is the one I used to have. It's got a little ringer here. Maybe this one never came with a ringer, so I'm not going to fault find it if it never came with a ringer. Obviously, if you used to work for BT and you were probably like 20 years older than me or so, let me know, and if this particular model did used to ring, I can always do a revisit on it, because that actually might be quite an interesting fault. But as it stands now, I'm presuming that it didn't used to ring. So let me plug it in, show you it working. Right, so now I've got it plugged in. If I was to hold down the polarity button here, you will see that the little light lights up, so I'm pressing it now. And if I take it off the hook here, we will now have dial tone, which we have. Not sure if you're going to be able to hear that or not. But if I was to start dialing, you will hopefully hear the noises. No, sorry, hold on. Oh, I need to go to here, this way. Now listen. Hopefully you'll hear that. Right, so I'm just going to ring in from my mobile, and I'm going to show you what it looks like here. It doesn't make a noise, but these lights start flashing. Also, it's a sound I haven't heard in ages. Because Virgin Media now give you the caller ID for free, so for example, when somebody rings in, it will come up with their number if your phone supports it. On this, you won't be able to hear it on camera, but you'll actually hear the burst of data come down the line first. So before it starts ringing, it will go, make a funny little noise. Imagine like a little Spectrum game, but sped up, the loading off that. And that's the burst of data that's actually putting the information from my mobile, you know, my number, down onto this. So if you had caller ID, it would come up. Then it will start ringing, and you will see that these here will start flashing. I personally find it hard to believe that this is built without a speaker, but you know, I don't know. But anyway, you'll see it flashing up here. Right, so I'm just ringing in now. There you go, I just heard that weird noise, and now look here. Look at the lights, there you go. So I now know it's ringing. And then I can answer it here. And if I put the phone on loudspeaker, testing, 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 testing. There we go. And also it works when I dial out as well. So if you know whether this phone should ring in, let me know, and then I can investigate it more in another video. Let's move on to the next item. I'm going to try and fix this Hotpoint Aqualtis washing machine. So the problem with this is it's not spinning properly. It does spin, but it doesn't seem to pick up any speed to actually dry the clothes. So what's happened is it has been working fine, and then my wife said that the clothes came out wetter than they should have done. So then basically she just put it on the spin one here, put it on again, and it still came out wet. So then she told me about it. I thought I'd have a look at it, and sure enough, it's not spinning properly. It's just kind of going round, you know, spins constantly like that, but it doesn't really go crazy to let all the water, you know, like shake all the water out of it. So when I had it on, I thought I heard a clicking noise coming from down here. So I've Googled it, and basically it can be many things where it doesn't spin properly, but one of the things is if there's a problem with the pumping the water out. And I've had it quite a few times on this now, where basically something's been caught in the pump so it can't spin properly. Normally it does come up with an error code though, and this is not coming up with an error code. But I'm thinking again it's going to be some blockage down here. So first things first, I'm unplugging it from the electricity supply so I don't electrocute myself. Got loads out there. Look at that, it's all horrible as well. It's got all yeah, rock hard bits of scaling. Do you know what that's from? That's from the bend in here. Right, now I'm going to undo the front and see what comes out. Right, I'm actually very lucky. There's very little water. This is only the second tray. Right, okay. We're out. There we go. Right, so you can see it's nicely scaled up, so that's going to need a bit of a clean. Let's see if there's anything stuck in here though. I can't see anything visibly stuck in here, so I'm just going to blow down the outlet pipe, the pipe you've seen earlier on, and I'm going to see if there's any blockage when I blow through it. What I'm doing is I've just got my hand around the hose here and I'm just blowing into this part. Right, there seems to be quite a lot of resistance there, but maybe that's normal. Well, I can't see anything wrong with it at all. What I'm going to do is, while I've got this out, I'm going to clean this up properly in the sink, get rid of all that scale. some of it feels hard, so I'm going to get a knife and scrape it away. I'm going to clean inside here just with the cloth. I mean, I can't see that I've done anything to fix this, but a lot of scale did come out of that hose to begin with, just in case it was a blockage. I don't think it was though, but I'm going to put it back together and see if it makes a difference. There you go, it's just around the rubber seal there. Might make a bit of a difference. Okay, I'm going to screw that back in now. Right, I'm going to get the wet heavy jumper or whatever it was that was in here. I think there was only, do you know what? I think there was only one item in here. I'm going to pop it back in and let's see now if it spins. Well, okay, so it's in here. It's just like a heavy hoodie. It's like a cross between a hoodie and a coat. Okay, let's see what's happening now. Right, it's no surprise to me, but it hasn't made any difference. That's not spinning at 1400. I presume that would be revolutions per minute. Right, I'm going to change it to 1200, see if that makes a difference in case. Actually, let's change to 800. No, I'm not happy with that, so I'm going to stop it. Let me try and spin it with nothing in here. Let's take that out. Right, and now let's spin it again, so it's empty now. Right, I'm going to up it to 1400. Oh, here we go. Right, okay, that's definitely working. That's what it should be doing. So I went to put the wet heavy item back in, and again it didn't spin fast. And then when I take out the wet heavy item, it does spin. So it seems like every time we have the item in, it won't spin fast. And every time we have no load in there at all, it spins just fine. So I suppose let's stop it and let's see if there's much wobble on the drum. Maybe the bearings or something have gone. I wonder how much. That's supposed to wobble like that though, isn't it? So there's going to be a big belt on the back here. Doesn't sound particularly noisy, does it? Do you know what? I think it's going to be one for Google. Okay, so I've Googled it and it's quite a common problem. A lot of people say it's the brushes on the motor, but when I looked up this particular model, they said that there's some induction motor which doesn't have brushes or something. So, I mean, if it was the brushes, that'd be great because you can buy them for around £7 or £8 and you can physically see that they've kind of gone black and the thing they spin around should be gold, and if it's arcing it goes black and dirty as well, so that shows that there's a problem with the spinning off the motor. And I suppose by having a load in there, it's putting that extra bit of, I don't know, like load on the motor. By having washing in there, it's putting more load on the motor because it's heavier, it's harder to spin. So I've got it on its side now. You can see the legs are there and you're looking at the bottom of the machine. Now this is the motor here. So I'm looking at it and it's got 1, 2, 3, remember this is unplugged from the mains, 1, 2, 3 wires. I think this is the thing that measures the speed. That is an induction motor, I believe, so I can't change the brushes on that. Right, okay, well look, there's no brushes there, there's nothing I can do. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take a note of this. I had a quick look on, I think it was eSpares, and it said that the motors were £170, but I did watch a eSpares video while I was on that site and it was on about an unbalanced load, and it said if there's one towel in it that it won't spin properly because it doesn't want to damage. There must be sensors or something. It doesn't want to damage the bearings and stuff. So it's better to put, for example, 2 or 3 towels in for a balanced load. So I'm wondering, because this problem hasn't, sort of been getting worse. It's all of a sudden just started. So maybe it is just the fact that there's an unbalanced load on, which obviously would be great. It's just that in the past we've definitely had one item of clothing in here and we haven't had a problem. But I don't know, either that or maybe the motor is starting to give out. I really don't know, but look, there's not really much I can do at the moment. I'm going to put it back together, I'm going to make a note of this motor, and then if the problem comes back again, for example in a day or a week's or a month's time, then I know that I can order up this motor. So it definitely wasn't a waste of time me taking this apart, because now I've got the details here of what this motor is. These are all dry. The wet one, the wet sort of hoodie thing is still in there, and then there's just a dark wash just going in there, but they're all dry at the moment. But still, there's weight there, isn't it? So that should, I'm hoping, balance the load. So now let's see if it is going to work, and see if all this time the only problem was the fact that it was just on its own. Right, I'm going to put it on the tripod, and let's see now after, when it gets to 18 minutes, if it had attempted to fast spin. Yeah, there we go. Look, it's still on 20 minutes. And you can see now it's spinning fast. Wow, so it's all to do with an unbalanced load. I've never seen that before. My wife's never mentioned anything before about that. So, that's interesting. So now, I'm just going to let it go one more time, see if it spins again when it gets to the end of 19 minutes. And there you go, spinning yet again. So it looks like every minute it gives a good fast spin. And that would be spinning fast enough now to get the water out. Well, there we have it. I never knew that one item that was wet could cause an unbalanced load. I suppose the bottom line is that most people don't stick one item in a washing machine. Normally you put a full load on because it would be too expensive to do one item. I'm not sure why that one hoodie coat type thing was put in there, but it was. And if it's happened to me, it will probably happen to other people as well. I dread to think if there's some of these worldwide that have actually been dumped for the sake of people thinking it wasn't working, when what they were in fact trying to do was just maybe wash one wet towel or something like that. So yeah, I think it's worth showing this, although it's slightly embarrassing. I still think it's worth showing it because the same thing might happen to you one day, and you know now it's an easy fix. Just throw another few towels in there with it, and then hopefully it will balance out and work just fine. But it's very good that the washing machine does detect that it could be damaged by putting that on, and it stops itself from spinning fast. So yeah, nice little safety thing built into it. Let's move on to the next item. Now this item is a lovely but damaged pocket watch sent in by Steve, and it says that the first item is a pocket watch. I think it belonged to either my parents or my wife's. It was put in the loft along with other items after they passed on. The history of the watch is a mystery to us, and we have no sentimental attachment to it. I know it's not in the best condition, however, after watching the attempted repair on the watch that was more concrete than metal, this should be a doddle for you to fix. Yeah, certainly that's a meagre watch that was buried in a quarry somewhere, really was just a lump of concrete. It says here, for the Admiralty, James Walker, London. Fortunately, it's missing a minute hand, the second hand, and also it hasn't got the acrylic. I've made sure that my hands are nice and dirty from the Rolls Royce. I'm going to repeatedly touch the dial. I do all this because it makes the watch repair people really, really happy. Now, looking at this, it looks to me to be pure silver. Look at the inside there, so you can see where it's been tarnished, where air's got to it. And here, it's relatively clean. Looks like we have numerous hallmarks and stuff. I don't know what they mean, but some of you will. So, ALD 490359, we've got an A there. We have a little anchor sign there. And is that the silver assay mark there? I think it might be. We have here, what does that say? Can we see a date on that? B30PSF. Oh, it's gone. Come back. Yeah, can't see anything there. Something else marked up here, 153. So these are just like service marks, aren't they? Anything on this bit? No. It's kind of weird with the servicing because I suppose it does add to the history of the watch. But if it was your pride and joy, I don't think you'd actually want it scratched in, would you? Maybe you wouldn't mind on the movement so much on the inside, but on this, it doesn't seem very nice to be scratched in. Anyway, objective here is clearly not to get it working because the dial's gone, the missing hand's gone, the second hand's gone. It's just to see why it's not working. So it looks like it's fully wound. Yeah, I can't wind it anymore. When I put out this here, nothing's moving. Can you see that our hand's not moving? So let's just put some gloves on and take it apart, see if we can actually get it to maybe just do a bit of ticking. Right now, I can see up here, it looks like it can be open. You see there's a bit of an indentation there. So let's try to gently, I presume this hasn't been opened in years and years. Wow, that's opened up easy. Oh, look at this. I was expecting it to be gold on the inside. Ah, that's nice, isn't it? It's really nice. And what does it say here? Denison watch case. Denison? Did they not make for Rolex? I need to Google that. I don't know why. When I seen that name there, I think of Rolex. Oh, this is nice. Right, why are you not turning? So it's fully wound up. Let's see what happens when I try. Ah, okay, so it's turning here. So that is free to move. So it's fully wound. Why are you not unwinding? Is it overwound? Should we try to release that here? Just wondering if I can put this down without damaging our hand even more. I think I can. Right, let's try to get rid of that little ratchet to one side and see if I can gently unwind it. Can I move that around more? It's a bit awkward because the case back's in my way. Here we go. I need it to go around a little bit more if possible. Go on. No, I can't do that. No, it won't go. Oh, there we go, there we go, there we go. Right, I'm just going to unwind that gently from here without letting it go crazy. Oh, there's plenty of strength on that spring. Oh, didn't want to do that. Right, it's getting nice and weak now. There we go. Right, okay. Now, are you going to work if I just give it a little wind? Let's see. And it's nice the way they've done this as well. Can you see you screw these in and out to get the balance going, you know, to make it nice and balanced. Oh, is that balance wheel broken? The pivot there, does that feel loose? I think it might be loose. I think the balance has gone on this. I bet if we took the balance wheel out, it would be, and we move that around, I bet it would be, you know, like wanting to tick. Yeah, look, there's no, the top pivot's gone. Look at the play in that. Ah, okay. Well, I suppose it's the most frequently moved part. So let's just try to unscrew it from here and then see if the rest of the watch is okay. For me, it's more about just seeing the thing and, you know, finding out what's wrong with it. You can see that this would need a lot of work to actually get it to probably be used again. You're going to come out. There we go. Right, let's now put a bit of wind in it and we'll zoom in and we'll see whether this ticks round here. Okay, so is this going to flick upwards when I just tap it? Yes. Oh, how lovely is that? Oh, look at that. So you can see how it works now. The balance goes round and basically when it comes back on itself, it moves this and then this then moves the balance. And then as the spring comes back round this way, it moves this and then boom, it gives it an extra kick. Back round this way, gives it an extra kick. So that is all working. Well, I don't know if it's working fine, but it's working. So the problem is with the balance. So let's just zoom in on the balance and see if we can see what's, see if we can see where the pivot's gone. To me, it looked like it was a problem with the top pivot. So this is the bottom pivot here, isn't it? Let's see if we can see what's happening there. Well, it looks like there is still a pivot there. What about the top? Oh, hold on. The pivot on the top's a lot longer. It's broken on the bottom, isn't it? Can you see the pivot up the top? So I'm looking at these end bits just here. So it was broken from the bottom because look how long the top bit is. Okay, so it's broken on the bottom. I wonder, is there remains left in here? Not that I can see, but maybe it fell out a long time ago. Maybe it's caught somewhere else. Well, obviously I haven't got a balance. I'm not going to be able to make a new pivot for the bottom. But at least we've proved what the problem is. So with this, you would need a new minute hand, a new second hand. You would need crystal for it, which is like the plastic or the glass that covers the front. And then you would also need a new balance as well. And unfortunately, you would need a new dial because you can see that there's been some sort of impact or something where the legs of the dial have broken through the ceramic. So this is all ceramic. And it looks like it's had an impact where that's broken there and that's broken there. I'm just going to place this back on for the time being. I mean, if you wanted to get into watches, I don't have enough success with them. They take me so long and I don't ever seem to have any really wins out of them. But pocket watches would be a lot better than, for example, if you were trying to fix women's watches, because you can see that the size of this is just huge compared to that. Oh, there we go. Well, I'm going to leave it at that. I will have a little look online. But yeah, there we go. Can I get one tick out of it? There we go. Yeah. So it's just, so what's happening is there's no pivot at the bottom. Yeah. So it's just doing this. So it needs to be perfectly in there so it can do this, and it's not. There's nothing there. So it's just spinning like that. So you can see when we move this around, there's just a huge amount of play. Oh, there you go. It gave a couple of ticks. There's a huge amount of play in this. Look at that. Yeah. Oh, did you hear that? I heard it tick. The sound of something like this ticking is lovely, and it's so relaxing. Like if you just put that, if it was working under your ear at night and just before you go to sleep, listen to that for about a minute, and it's lovely. And they do have different ticks depending on how many times they move. So some of them have like different beats. They might be like 5 beats a second, they might be 7 beats a second, they might be 6 beats a second. I don't know which one this is, but basically the more beats, the more accurate it is. But then the more beats, the quicker the spring will wear down. So you have to try to find like a happy place. You know, you might have a Seiko which is only beating 5 times a second, but then it might easily last a day and a half or something. So I love them. What I'm also curious about is why, when we pull this out, is that not turning? Because I can't even see this middle thing turning. There's no resistance there at all. So should we just dissect it a little bit more, just to see if we can work out what's happening. So I start undoing some screws to see if I can find out what's happening, why it's just spinning freely rather than not moving the hour hand round. I tried to take the crown out by undoing a little screw next to it. I was sure this was full of crown, but it doesn't matter what I do. I undo it a bit and press it in, I take it all the way out, it still doesn't release the crown, which is a bit odd. Anyway, I undo some screws here, but it doesn't actually make a difference. But just by accident, the dial comes off, and that gives me the answers that I need. So I'll show you that now in just a few seconds. And also, if you have a look here, you know, for the slow and fast, can you see there's a tiny little screw for minor adjustments, I think. So you can push it back with the screw to get fine adjustment. Oh wow, this has just come off. Oh, look here. This has come off here. Right, so that moves. Look, if I move the gear around here, the wheel, that moves fine. So it's not that. So here, this might give us a better look of what's happening. So when we go out here, that pushes it there. That's turning here. Why is that not turning any further? Why is that not turning more? Is it this thing here that's failed? Well, that's working there. What's that supposed to be turning? Hold on, have we got a wheel missing here? Is there a wheel missing here that goes in between this one and this one? Because there's no way that that's going to reach this. Yeah, that middle gear. There's no way that that can reach it. Tick tock, tick tock. It's the sound my brain's making. There's not much activity going on. Remember, there was also a wheel at the back of the dial as well for the hour hand. Yeah, so remember, it's got to reduce down from the hour to the minute, or go up from the minute to the hour. Reduce down. I'm getting lost, but you know what I mean. Anyway, I'll work it out in a minute. Hold on a minute. That needs to go under here. What's going on here? That needs to go there. Now it's turning. What? What's happening here? Was that impact damage that's knocked that out? How bizarre. So now when we turn that, you can see that it is turning. And now it's not. And now it is. And that is in turn going to turn this one here. Yeah? Can you see that that is going to be turned by this one here? Oh, and this is where's the second hand? The second hand is here. That's the second hand here. Okay. So what follows is around about 40 minutes of me trying to kind of piece this thing back together. But clearly I haven't got a balance, so I can't make it work. But in my mind I'm thinking it'd be just nice to see this tick for 10 or 15 seconds at the end of the video, because when you hold it in just the right position, I suppose the balance isn't really under much strain and it's just happy to tick back and forth rather than like wobbling with the weight of gravity, putting it in the wrong position. So basically I looked through all my spares, and I have done a little bit of work on pocket watches before, so I find a second hand that fits without me doing any work to it. The minute hand is a little bit small, so what I have to do is the hole for it is a little bit small. So what I have to do is I have to get my little tiny drill set out and just hand drill it to make it a little bit wider. Then I managed, believe it or not, to have a crystal that looks like it fits it. It's a plastic one, but it looks like it kind of fits it okay. It might be a tiny bit too small, not too sure, but it looks pretty much spot on. So I used some of that glue. I'm doing a voiceover now, I can't remember what it was called, B7000 or B7000 glue, stuff you use for gluing down phone screens and stuff. I just use a little bit of that just around the edge. I don't put it all the way around. This is not going to be waterproof. I don't think it ever was waterproof. I'm just putting, let's say, dots every kind of 5 minutes, if you imagine that. So 12 dots all the way around, maybe a little bit more. And the crystal goes on just lovely. And then the nicest thing of all is basically getting the silver polish. My wife's got these little silver polish cloths, and I think she uses them for my daughter's Pandora rings and stuff like that, because they go, necklaces and bracelets, they kind of go very tarnished. I think Pandora's silver, could be wrong. Anyway, she uses them on that and they come up a treat. I've rubbed the cloth on here and it just comes up absolutely lovely. So yeah, there's a fair bit of work gone into this, but it's not actually fixing it, because the end result is the fact that it's still not going to work. But at least I know now with confidence that the only thing this needs is a balance. It might not be good at keeping time, because maybe it does need to be serviced as well, but just to make it work, it needs a balance. So while I'm cleaning up this little beauty, we'll give a shout out to them. My mate Vince Massive, they're the top level Patreons. The members this month are kitdigital.com, Kip Hakes, Max Rokotansky, Chris Seal, Felipe at MrKeeps.com, DJ VG, Pixie, Anthony Dean, Bazza2, Ross Melanson, Gaspar Heller, Ricard Bergland, Soul Reaver 555, the My Mate Vince fan club over on Facebook, Astral Red Panda, and Shamsa Al Sawadi. So a massive thanks to each and every one of you. So if you know what balance goes into that, please let me know, because I would actually like to fit a balance to this. And I like the fact that the dial is cracked, because the rest of it looks nice. It just tells the story more. Well, brilliant. I'm calling that a success because I've proved what the fault is. I got the hands moving. I've managed to make it look like a pocket watch again, and I've shown you at least 30 seconds of it working. More than 30 seconds. Come on. Can we get to 45? Is it going to pass the hour hand, or is it going to stop? It's past it. We're coming up to 50 seconds. No! Well, that's not bad. What was that? About 47 seconds or something. So a massive thank you to Steve for sending that in to me. I think it is absolutely lovely, and if the comment section does let me know what balance is needed, because I'm sure the movement in this is probably just a generic movement that's in loads of different pocket watches by different manufacturers, just different cases and stuff, then you see I honestly think this will work again just fine, because I don't think it's gone faulty from wear, it's gone faulty from boom, drop damage, and that's why it stopped working. So maybe this has stopped working like 60, 70, 80 years ago. Who knows how long it's been, but yet the actual mechanism itself might not actually be that worn. So I think a new balance will set this off perfectly. I just love the look of that there. I think it's so nice. It just shows you when you're dealing with quality, it will always be quality. How nice does that come up? Anyway, let's move on. We're going to try and fix up this Tower 11 litre air fryer. Now I bought this off eBay, 40 for £40, but to me it looks brand new, and even the things on the inside all look new. Lights work, it all comes alive, makes all the right sounds, but there's no heat being generated. So if I turn it on here, and if I do this, it will start. Do I have to? There we go. It will start, the fan will start turning and stuff. And I can feel that there's air there when I quickly open it up, but there's no heat whatsoever. And when I bought it, that's exactly what it said. It said that it wouldn't heat up. So let's take it apart and see if we can find out what's wrong with it. Now, I have already done one of these on the channel, and it was a complete and utter nightmare to take apart. It really was hard. You have to take off this bit here. Whoops, let's turn it off. You have to take off this bit here, and then you have to it uncovers screws, and then you have to unclip it around the edge. It really is hard. But let's see what's wrong with this, because it looks like it's either left the manufacturer faulty, or it's gone faulty in shipping from the manufacturer to the customer or to the retailer. Let's get started. Okay, so I'm unplugged from the mains. Now, first of all, I'm going to have to pop this bit out here. Now, you are going to hear the plastic stretch, scream and yelp. It's going to be horrendous to get into, because I know the last one was horrendous, but at least I know how to get into it now. So, I'm going to just start on the edges, and I'm going to try to pry it out. I've got some plastic tools as well. Now, there is going to be damage to this, because this is like just painted silver, so there is going to be damage to it. Excellent, got that off, so you can see it will reveal 3 screws here, here and here. So let's undo them. Okay, so the front's going to come up no problem, because we've got 2 screws undone there. This is a nightmare, this one's a nightmare, that clip and that clip's a nightmare, and there's a hidden one here, which is the hardest of them all. This makes it slightly easier. So for example, if I was to get some tweezers, and if I was to ram it in here, then I can lift out the silver away from the black plastic. And now can you see the bottom bit? And if you can see that bit there. There you go. That's the bit that's keeping it in, that bottom bit of plastic there. So if I can go there and try to lift it up at the same time, then we might get it free. Might. There you go. Can you see that one's now free? Yeah? So now we've got to do the same here, the next one along. So I think that's probably the easiest way of doing it. There you go, look at that. See? Again, once you know, it's much easier doing it that way. Yeah, look at that, that's the secret. Watch this one. In here, prise out, and out it comes. I just wish there was a secret for the one in here. So I'm going to have to reach all the way in now. Right, I managed to get that one. Just one clip left. Yes, excellent. Right, okay, it was awful, but not quite as bad as it was before. So now, let's, what should we get to? I want to check the element. I think the element might be faulty. So let's give ourselves a bit of room. Let's undo these screws here. And now I'm going to undo the screws here, here and here, these four. Right, and also there's two screws just underneath here as well. So I'm going to take this door out. All you do is, it's designed to come out so you can wash it. Just move this across and you see the door comes out. And we have two more screws here and here. Okay. Excellent, we've now got access here so we can do some testing. So this is the little motor for the rotisserie. We've got a little switch down here that turns on and off when the door is open and closed. I think we need to look at the elements here. I say it's probably the element that's failed. So I'm just going to slide these up. And let's see if we've got resistance between here. I'm hoping we have. No, element's blown open. Look. Can you see there? There's no resistance. Yep, so there's no power flowing through that. So annoyingly, this needs a new element. So it must have just broken in transportation, or maybe when it was first of all powered on, it just went. Ah, that's a shame. Let's see how we get to the element. So we're going to have to undo. Is it all from underneath? So we're going to have to undo these two. Right, we're going to have to separate this. Let's get the element out, and it might have some markings on. It might be cheaper than trying to get one for a tower if we actually just get the marking straight from the element. I'm going to undo the screws around the edge. Let me just show you the underneath of that lid, because this is the hardest part to get to. So you can see where the clips are. So you can see this clip at the back and the shape of it. So you can see it like points downwards, yeah? And we have one here, again, these ones here, and then these were the ones that we were ramming tweezers into to open out, you know, away from it. And then, yeah, nothing at the front here, so there we go, that's it. Oh, also, these two here, but I didn't notice them coming undone, so maybe they were easy to do. Right, annoyingly, I'm going to have to undo the bottom and undo all the screws around here. So, yeah, because they're holding them down from underneath. So this isn't wanting to separate yet. I have to take out this metal bit, you see, because otherwise I'm going to end up bending this out of the way. We need to, this is like, this metal bit is sandwiched in between both layers. So I'm just going to place this back on top so I don't damage anything. Now it is a bit of a pain to get to this element. You might be able to do it by just undoing the 3 screws on the metal mesh and forcing it down and get a stubby screwdriver in to undo the screw to get to the element. It's going to be a little bit awkward to get to, and also I think there's a good chance of deforming that metal mesh. At least doing it this way, you're kind of taking apart the air fryer completely, and then you're going to know where things are in the future. If, for example, you need to change the rotisserie motor or the rotisserie belt, because we have access to all that now once you take it all apart. So basically we're just undoing the Phillips screws at the bottom here. There's another Phillips screw hidden underneath where the mains cable comes in. To get to those 2 little screws, they're Torx 10, so they're different screws there, and that will uncover a little hidden Phillips screw under that. And then the whole bottom comes off. Just be careful of the wires, the mains wires coming in, because they tend to kind of rub against the plastic body, so you might want to put a bit of insulation tape around them just to stop them, give them a bit of protection. Once we take the bottom off, we have now access to the screws that are sandwiching that metal mesh, and they go all the way around the sides and the back. So you're going to need a very long Phillips screwdriver to get to them. So yeah, that's what we're doing now. And once we have all that, it still doesn't want to come apart because the rotisserie belt is stopping it from coming apart. So then we have to undo the little gear on the rotisserie belt, and that will then allow the belt to come off. And finally, that will allow the top and the bottom half of this air fryer to separate, which will give us access to the element by taking out the metal mesh. Now, can you see it's separated now? So we've got access to take out this bit here. Go free. So now we have access to the element, the faulty element. So you can see the fan above it there. I'll be really careful. Really, I should be undoing all these things here. Let's undo them all because we're only going to get this broken. That should have been done at the beginning. A little tab here to push down to remove this. And this one here. Okay, so now that's the little temperature probe here, the NTC. So we've got 1 screw holding it in here, and then we've got a screw through the earth cable. I'm taking off that clamp because I presume it doesn't come with the new one. And now let's undo the earth one here. Right, so it's already wanting to drop down because of the weight of it. Really, I should have done this one first. It's okay, I'm just holding it up here. I'm just going to take a picture. It shouldn't matter which way round it goes, but I want to put it back to how it was from the factory. So blue to the back and white to the front. Right, so with these ones here, they've got little tabs on them. So if you have a look, can you see this bit here in the middle? It moves towards the camera. So there we go. Little tabs there. They just lock it into place. We are free! Ta-da! Excellent! Now, where have you gone? I mean, the whole thing looks brand new. And also I can see here it says 220 to 240 volt, 2000 watts, and it says AF-66A. Now let's see, has anything changed with all that messing around? No, it's completely open, you see. Now normally when I've seen elements fail in the past, you can normally see where they're burnt, but this must, I suppose if it's faulty from new, it just must be a break in the middle of the element somewhere. Right, okay, let's see if I can get a replacement one. Let's see how much they are. Now if you're doing this yourself, be really careful because lots of them look really similar, but a lot of them are much less wattage. There's only 1000 watts here, we have 1500 watts over here somewhere, and they all seem to be the same. So this one here, it even says tower, but it's for a different model of tower and it's not the same wattage. Right, unfortunately, most of these seem to come from overseas, but I have found a UK seller, but they are used elements. But if we put a sensible head on our shoulders, how old is this item?
It's not very old, so there's a good chance that these elements haven't had that much use. So I am going to go for a used one. If I had an option to get a brand new one from the UK, I would do that. I've measured it. It's measuring 185 millimeters across. The markings are the same. It's 2000 watts. So this looks like it's from the exact same model. So yeah, I'm going to put an offer in for £13 and see if they accept it.
Yippee, they've accepted £13. So hopefully when it arrives, I can pop it in and I think this air fryer will be working as new again. A few days later and my element has arrived. So this is the 41 here, and you can see we're not reading anything. Here we go. Right, so you can definitely see it has had use, which is fair enough. It was down as used, but yeah, it's had quite a bit of use. Oh look, they included that. That was nice. I can't see any burn spots or anything on it. So let's see what this one is reading. 28 ohms. So at least you get a rough idea now what the element should be reading. Maybe if it was brand new, it would be slightly different. Maybe if it was older, it might be slightly different, but yeah, 28 ohms. So now we have to pop this one into the air fryer and hopefully it will be working. It really is just a repeat of how I took it apart, but putting it back together. So yeah, let me fast forward through all that and then we'll maybe cook some food at the end of the video.
Now this one here isn't the easiest to put back together. For example, the metal mesh will only go on one way. It's got a cutout on one side and that has to go by the rotisserie belt. If you put it on the wrong way, that belt is going to foul against the metal mesh and it won't be long before that belt cuts through. Also, there's so many different screws on this model, so when you're taking it apart, keep all the screws separate, and then at least you know you have different piles of screws. You'll have a better idea of where they go back on. Also, it would be worth taking pictures as you go along. The hardest part by far is taking it apart, but also putting it back together can be a little bit challenging because of all the different screw types on this model. But there we go. It's done now, so let's turn it on and see if it's going to work.
And it should click in. There we go. That's it. Excellent. Right, let's plug it in and see if it's still alive, and then I can just turn it on for a couple of seconds and feel if it's getting warm on the inside. So plugging it in now. Excellent. Right, turn it on and turn it on. There we go. Right, fan's working. Should be able to feel heat coming out the back actually. Back here. Right, let's just feel. Can't feel anything yet. Yeah, I can feel warmth. Excellent. Right. Okay, let's cook some food. And just to show you the rotisserie bar spinning. There you go. So I'm going to take that out now and I can cook some food. Okay, I've got some chips in here and I can definitely feel the heat coming out the back. So let's get back to this in 20 minutes or so. Ta-da! There we go. Nice, warm, chunky chips. Here we have Demon Driver. A little tabletop game here. So this is from either the early 80s. I think it's going to be late 1970s. Looking online, there seems to be various different numbers thrown around the place, but one of them said 1978, 1979, and I think that feels about right for this game here. I've just noticed that it looks like it's had a repair to the steering wheel here, but you can actually buy, people are doing 3D printed copies of these ones here. So, but that isn't the actual problem with this one. The problem with this one is that this lap counter here is not working, and that's basically the whole point of the game. This is what tells you your score. So right now we're on 0-0. When I first of all turned it on, I thought this game is awful, but then when I understood it, it's actually a very good game. So look at the artwork there, isn't that lovely? You can imagine that on in a toy shop on the shelf and you wanting that for Christmas or for your birthday. Looks nice, doesn't it? Anyway, it clearly says here the gears. So we have neutral, 1, 2, 3. Neutral, your car will be overtaken in both lanes. Number 1, your car matches the speed of cars in the right-hand lane and is overtaken in the left-hand lane. 2 here, your car is equally fast in both lanes. And 3, your car is faster in the right-hand lane. And that all sounds a bit confusing, but it all starts making sense once you start playing it. I'll just leave that there because it just looks so nice. Look, check this out. So you turn it on here until this gets to S, and then it actually starts going itself. Ready? Now we're off, yeah? Now watch this. If I go neutral, you can see that they're going to be up on me there. Can be a little bit hesitant in one sometimes. That's one speed, you see. There.
Move over here. Oh, it crashed. And do that. Hold on. Honestly, trust me, it is good when you get used to it. And can you see 3-speed is faster there, so you've got to kind of time it. You see there, and then fast. So there, and then I've got to speed up, but I couldn't get across in time. There, slow down a bit, fast. Slow, slow, slow. Anyway, I'll show you it properly working at the end. But yeah, this is not counting up down here. Should be counting up all the time so it can tell you what laps you've done. Let's take the batteries out because it's infuriating. Now I already know what's going to be wrong with it. Because whenever you have something like this, it's always going to be the white nylon gears. But I will also know because Roger from Retro Tech Repair repaired one of these ages ago and it had the same problem. So I'd say it's a very common problem. So I'm just going to whisk through it now. I'm going to take off the cover and hopefully then I can get to this mechanism here. So we've got various different screws around the place. These are pretty collectible. This one here cost me around about £50, which is not cheap. Oh, it says there 1978. There you go. Doesn't lie. You don't need the internet. It says it here. 1978. But maybe it was out in production for like 3, 4, 5 years. It might have been out a while. Now, of course, I overpaid for it, like I always do, because I need to find broken stuff. The seller of this one here sells loads of stuff, and they're listed as things like £200, and then it will be like, put £100 off for £100. It's one of those sort of things. But yeah, I probably... Oh, no returns if opened. He's even put a sticker on it there, or she. Haha. That's a bit annoying now, because now I've got to spend ages trying to get that rubbish off. Right, so on Roger's one, it was, I think, this gear here that was gone, which is the sort of one you're going to expect to go. So what happens is, this is all going to be done from one motor, which is pretty amazing. Where is the motor? Where is the actual motor? Don't know, it could be up here somewhere. Not actually sure. But anyway, when you do this here, it resets this from here. So this, basically, everything should be spinning, yeah? And this across here should be spinning. And then this should be spinning every time it's on. But when you do this, this is the way you get out of your crash. Because when it starts flashing like that, you need to maneuver it out of your crash. And of course, then it's just going to keep on crashing. So you do this to like reset it. And when you do that, can you see it's lifting it up from here? So that's no longer in contact. It's no longer in contact with this, yeah? But then when it's here, it's all together. In fact, hold on. So what's happening here? There you go. Can you see I'm turning it here? So it's this gear here that's gone. I'm turning this, and it's not making any difference. It's not actually turning this metal axle here, look. Yeah, in fact, you can see it's cracked there. So let's pop that off and see if we can get another one of them. The way it works is quite clever. Let me just take this off to show you. Basically, you see this here, this selects this up and down, and that will determine the speed. So basically we have one here, which is moving the, what's this one moving? Okay, this is moving the counter, you know, so the actual, the thing that's broken. This one here is moving this side, and this one here is moving this side here. Am I going to be able to take this off to show you without... I don't want to get too involved. Oh, red, white and blue. Union Jack. How nice do they look there? Red, white and blue wires together. That looks so good. Here we go. Now, can you see how clever it is? So when you move it up and down, it goes onto different gears. So it's going to turn these at different speeds. Yeah. So it's being fed from up here, and yes, it's being fed from up here, isn't it? Is that right?
I hope it doesn't all spring out at me. I just want to know where the motor is to then realise, well, it has to be getting fed from the top because it can't be getting fed from the bottom. There's nothing there. There's the motor. So isn't it amazing? Back then everything was fed from one motor. Look at that there. That's the motor there. But I'm not 100% sure what this thing is for. There's like a coil here. What's that about? Oh, does it cut it off when it reaches? Or does it stop it from moving when it crashes? Is that the idea? I'll be honest, I'm not actually sure what that there is for. I don't know. I'm sure someone like Randy Rain would have a video on this and it would tell you every single part of it. Right, okay, but anyway, can you see that when you move this up and down, it goes on to different gears, yeah? Which is quite nice. It's always on these no matter what, but you can see the way these spin on the inside here. There's a set of teeth here, here and here for the 3 gears and 2 here. So it's going to be like neutral, you know, 1 and 2 for different speeds. I suppose we put it back together before we damage something. If you could just let me know in the comments what that is for there. Well, it turns out it is actually for the crash protection. Randy Rain, who I mentioned a few seconds ago, does actually have a video on this. I've watched it the next day after filming this here, and it's from about 5 years ago, but yeah, it's to do with the crash detection. It's a super complicated toy. Absolutely amazing when you think it's all run from one motor and a solenoid. I mean, it's crazy actually that it's run from one motor and a solenoid. But there you go, we've got 3 different speeds. You've got something lighting up. It's got to detect when the cars are next to your particular car. So you've got to hand it to the engineers that designed this. It really is something to behold. Just moving these in to make it click nicer into position. Can you see they're very spread out? Just don't want to break it. Don't really think that's made any difference. Right, let's take off this little gear. So we need a new one of these. Let's just zoom in just to see the crack. And there you go, there's the brake there. Can you see right the way through there? So basically it's just slipping because it's broken here. And I know I've said it thousands of times because I keep falling for these 70s and 80s toys because I just love them. But they cause torture. What happens is the metal axle, like this here, doesn't shrink. But these do shrink over time. The oils must leave them and they shrink. But you see, they can't go anywhere. If they weren't on a metal axle, it'd be fine. But because they're on a metal axle, the metal axle doesn't shrink, yet these do shrink. So they have nowhere to go. They keep shrinking. They have to break. They have to break. And it happens to all toys from this era. All toys. And I don't think it's got anything to do with how much the toy's been played with. It's just to do with the age of it. Look at that there. So I'm going to have a look now, see if I've got any of these that I can use in this one's place. Now I've got my box of gears here, so I'm going to have a look through here and see if there's anything like this one. Annoyingly, I've just put some batteries in because I wanted to, you know, have it working kind of on camera here. And it's not going off, you know. It said to put it to number 1. It should be going by itself now. So whatever deals with the thing that makes this stay on is now not working. So 1 second. That's where you stay still and they both go. That's where the left hand goes. That's where they both go the same speed. And that's where that goes faster. So why are you not staying on? I've clearly messed something up. See, it would have been very easy just to get one of these, if I've got one, and just place it on. But I wanted I wanted to sort of see the inside of it and show you guys the inside of it, and now I think I'm probably going to end up causing myself a huge amount of work. Unless of course I pulled off a wire. I think it's got something to do with this thing, this energized coil. Do you know what? I've probably messed all the timing up now because we've got a little dot here. Mind you, that shouldn't make a difference, should it? Because it's the same all the way around. No, it is going to make a difference because of this here. Remember, it only starts going on its own when you get to start. That's start, that's finish. Ah, Vince. Can't see anything broken, and I've been very gentle with it. Right, let's lift this up. Right, so let's say now we do that. How does it know to stay on? Is it this thing here? Why is it not staying on? That worm wheel goes onto this one here, which comes over here. So this is definitely feeding the timer. That's going to have to be on top because we've got metal arms here. Right, so can you see something to do with that there? Maybe those arms weren't on top. Maybe I pushed them underneath by accident when I took the lid off. And these metal arms here, can you see there's a break on this metal here? So do you know what it is? These two arms are going to have to contact each other. Yeah, they contact each other via here. But as soon as one goes to here, they can no longer contact each other. Must be the same here. Can you see that it can't make the contact now because we're not on the metal? Yet if we both go to the metal, it will make the contact. Okay, it's suddenly got more interesting for me. I understand it a little bit more. What's amazing is the minds of somebody that thought this up, you know? Unless you were just to do one thing at a time, but it's amazing, it really is. And that's like a planetary gear here, can you see? Or orbital or something, I'm not sure. But look, that goes down inside that there. Yeah, it moves around. Oh, it's got a little bit out here, so you can't actually get it in wrong because this thing here, let's take this off. This thing can only go on one way, so let's pop this on. This can only go on one way. There. So if we move it round, is it going to work now? Yes, look here. It's moving. Now it should continue on itself. Excellent, it's continuing. Brilliant. Okay, take the batteries out. I think that's just because I haven't got the screws in. Fantastic. So a lot easier when you know how. So basically under the timer there was that metal disc, but there was a tiny little section taken out, and that's the section in between the finish and the start. So it will continually work its way round until one of the metal prongs goes onto that plastic bit, and then the two metal prongs can't short together. When the metal prongs are shorted together, this will continually work on its own. So when I took off the lid before, I must have put it down on top of the metal prongs rather than having the metal prongs on top of that metal disc. Anyway, that's all good. Now we just have to find a little 10-toothed gear to see if we can replace the one that cracked. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Brilliant. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That's great. And to me, it looks to be the same. So if we put that on top, what a stroke of luck that is. Can you see there? Looks to be the same, doesn't it? How good is that? So let's pop this on and see if it's, well, I'll tell you what, it's not going to fit, is it? Because that's much smaller. So I'm going to have to get a drill bit to fit in there and drill this one out. Let's go to 1.6, that's the biggest this one will go. If it's bigger than that, I'm in trouble. Ah, annoying. Right, okay. I'm going to be in trouble there now. I need to buy more. I said I was going to buy more. I didn't after looking at Elliot's car. The little Porsche. Oh, what I could do is, I could get the soldering iron and just melt a little bit here and then try to force it on when it's still warm. What it is, I can't really put it on when it's warm because it's so hard to get to. It's cooled down by the time I bring it over. Now, if I force this one over here, I should be able to get a little bit more on it. Now, I wonder, is that going to be on enough? Let's pop the batteries in and see if it's turning. Why is it not moving at all? Oh, here we go, now it's moving. Oh, look, 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 look. 1 second. Hold on. It's a shame there's no off. I need to reset this to 0 right now. Put it to 1. That's turning now. Why is that not turning here? Doesn't give me enough chance to actually... That's turning, so why is it not turning over here now? There you go, it's turning. It's turning. Because I keep crashing.
This needs to be down like that, you see. There. Yeah, that will work. That will work, yeah. So you can see it's on there now. Fantastic, right, okay. Let's put this back together and it should be job done. Just got to line up this steering wheel and that thing. Right, okay. I have to remind myself to buy some different drill bits from 1.6 millimeters upwards, maybe 1.6 to 3 mil or something, or up to 4 mil. Right, that's got a little cutout just here, a little tooth that goes on here, so it can only go on one way. Shame that the steering wheel's broken. Okay, so let's reset that. Zero, zero. Now, let's see if I can get some speed up. Just going to wait till this goes all the way around. Normally you wouldn't have to do this because it would end, you see, at finish. Right, so it finishes okay, which is fantastic. So, we put it to number 1. Here we go now. We're off. Look at that. Insane skill. You are allowed to do that. Look at that. Might get a world record here. Ah. It's quite a clever game. Uh-oh. Oh, I just got out of that in time. Did you see that? Uh-oh. It's good that you have one that's the same speed. And then there's that one there. Look at that. Oh. Brilliant. 58. Do you know what? It would have been a real challenge to try to clock it, get to 99. Can you see that? 58? What a lovely little fix there. I'm just going to quickly fast forward through one more game. I just actually want to see if I can beat that score. And the good thing is, if you've got that 40 gear, can you see how easy it is? You haven't got to get involved in anything else. Just take this off, undo the 4 screws, take the top off, take off this one, and then manage to get a new one on. And if you were sensible and had a drill bit to fit, then you could just go through, pop the new one on, and it really would be easy to fix. Right, okay, here we go. I showed this to my son, and he actually really liked it. And he managed to get a score of 84 after playing on it for about half an hour. So I reckon if you had this back in the day, I think you could get well into the 90s. Let me know down in the comment section if you ever got more. Is it possible to get 99? That would be amazing. It was also known as Digital Derby in other countries. That's interesting. Demon Driver over here, but Digital Derby. Was Demon not allowed in America, I wonder? Just like, do you remember Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles? They had to be Hero Turtles here in the UK. Maybe in America it was more strict and they didn't like the word demon. It might have put people off, especially if they might be slightly more religious. Very interesting how different countries have different names for the same game, depending on what they think would be acceptable or not. 65, not bad. Well happy with that. And it's lovely that it came in the box as well. Really is a lovely box. Enjoyed that one.
Well, there we have it, the end of April's extravaganza. If you got to the end of the video, give yourself a good pat on the back because that is 2 hours worth of fixing. So you did well to get through it. And also I did well because to edit up a 2-hour video is days upon days upon days upon days upon days, if not weeks off work. So yeah, a lot goes into these longer videos, but if you enjoy it, it makes it worthwhile. Think about leaving a comment if you haven't already, or maybe think about subscribing if you want to see May's extravaganza and June's extravaganza and longer videos going forward. It will help me out with the YouTube algorithm, and then these videos get pushed to more people, and then I get more views, and then I make more money, and it makes it more worthwhile for me to do this because I do YouTube as a living. Ridiculous, I know, but I do. I think the favourite item has to be either this or I think it might be this. To me, they're about equal because I thoroughly enjoyed both of them. But if I could get this one ticking, this by far would be the winner for me because it just feels and looks absolutely amazing. I don't know if that's coming across in the camera or not, but that looks and feels it just feels lovely. You know, certain things, like to stick up for Apple, a lot of the times when you hold an Apple product, it feels good. Forget about how it works, just they do feel good. That's what that feels like. You just feel it, you want to feel it, you want to use it, you want to wind it. So if I can get a balance for that, I will be very, very happy. But I'm very lucky because I genuinely do love fixing things, always have done. I am the real deal when it comes to this. I have always wanted to fix stuff and I've always attempted to fix stuff. My brain might not be the best when it comes to repair because a lot of the time knowledge doesn't get retained in there and then I might make the same mistake over and over again. But my heart is definitely in it and I can promise you that I do love fixing. So I feel very privileged that I can even make videos like this and there's an audience of people out there just like me who also love fixing. Even if the item itself is relatively worthless, it's just the joy of seeing something work again, and more importantly it's the joy of finding out what the problem was. For example, I've got loads of joy from that and it's not working. It wasn't working beforehand, it's not working now, but because I know what was wrong with it and it was drop damage, that to me it's like being a detective finding out what's wrong. So yeah, there we go. Thanks for watching everybody, and I will see you all very soon. Take care.
We set sail too soon. I'm wiser now than I was in my youth. Too many a tale to tell. I see in you what's not in myself. But if you give me moments, a little bit of your time, I'll be waiting for you. So lower me home, different day but the same old story. So I have been told, forget all that went before me. Forever saving my soul, before it takes hold of me. Instead of letting me go, let's write a brand new story. We can make it great. Don't overthink it, it's a shame it's the same. It's time for us to stand. Do what you do while you still can.